The Avengers cast came out to present 2 awards. They presented cinematography and visual effects. And this was unfortunately where we got the introduction of the Jaws theme to play them off.
I like to swim naked too!
Now I have to, this is, okay, so I'm going to get on my soapbox again, because, you know, we talk about this all the time. But first of all, when they started playing the Jaws theme, I have to admit that I laughed, okay, because I thought, okay, that's kind of funny. They're going to play the Jaws theme. But then I was like, you know, just the way that they kept cutting off the people, and then it's like, okay, now you're going to use a theme that is one of the classic movie themes of all time, and now it's going to be associated with a practice that I think everybody hates. I mean, who likes this process that they do this? You know, and I cannot stand that they're going to take all this time for these musical numbers and things like that, but they cut off these people. You know, and I even had like an argument discussion with someone that was saying that, you know, I don't want to hear the, you know, the cinematographer or the visual effects artist's speech, you know, even if they're just thanking a bunch of names. But this is their moment. You know, I've said this on the show for years. This is their moment. You know, this is the one great thing about, well, there's many great things about the Oscars, but one of the great things about the Oscars is that it brings to a global audience, you know, for the majority of people, you know, for the majority of people, they go to movies and they don't think about the people that make those movies. You know, they know the actors and they may know a director if it's Spielberg or some other well-known director, but for the most part, they don't pay attention to who's the cinematographer. You know, they don't look and say, well, this cinematographer also did this film and I'm so impressed with this work. You know, they experience the entire film, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. But what the Oscars do is they highlight for general audiences, you know, that making movies is about the entire craft, that there's a whole group of people that actually make these movies, and they deserve to be honored just as much as the actors and the directors and the writers do. And so what I've always loved about the Oscars is it's the great equalizer. You know, every person that wins that Oscar gets to go up on that same stage, and they get to hold that same trophy and call themselves an Academy Award winner. And why we're going to cut these people off, you know, is beyond me. Now, I think it was the visual – well, first, both of these awards went to Life of Pi, so it even worked better that they were grouped together. As expected, these were not two surprises at all. Cinematography – I mean, I know a lot of us wanted to see Roger Deakins win for Skyfall, but Claudio Miranda won for Life of Pi. And it was either – I think it was the visual effects artist or it was Claudio Miranda. I can't remember offhand, but one of them did get cut off just as he was about to address a very important issue about – apparently the visual effects house that worked on Life of Pi is going out of business, and he was, you know, the Jaws music was rising in a yes, and I'm getting warmed up. You know, the Jaws music was increasing just as he was getting to talking about this visual effects, you know, house, and it's a very important issue, and they addressed it some backstage. You know, talking about the fact that, you know, when you look at contemporary movies, I think a lot of people would be surprised with all the visual effects laden movies that we have out there that there's actually these visual effects houses are losing money and going out of business. So it wasn't just him listing names, but he was about to say something really important, and then they still played him off, you know, and then they cut away to apparently do the rude taking him off and changing the music, you know, and cutting the microphone. And it's ugly. It's an ugly thing to do. You know, it's like, let these people have their moment. You know, it's like, for God's sake, I mean, okay, so the telecast goes 3 hours and 35 minutes, which I think is what last night's did. The longest ever has been like 4 hours and, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. It's like, okay, could we have maybe even 6 hours? Okay, one night out of 365 days a year that we celebrate the art of movies. Could we all just agree to let these people talk? You know, let them have their moment. It's only, you know, I've never understood this. You know, and especially to rush through with the whole point. They're called the Academy Awards. We're giving out these awards to people. Okay, I mean that's the whole purpose of why we're gathered to watch this. Is we're giving awards to people and we're honoring them and we're giving them a spotlight so that they can, you know, so that we can understand their craft and award them for something that they did that meant something to people. You know, so these two awards, that this first happened to, cinematography and visual effects. Okay, I know that may not be so exciting to Joe Q citizen out there watching. They'd rather see an actor win or something like that. But try to imagine a film without a cinematographer. Okay, what would Life of Pi have been without those visual effects artists? Okay, do you not think that work that was so landmark in Life of Pi deserves to be honored? And wouldn't you want to hear from those people? And especially if they're talking about an issue where, this business that they did, the place that worked on these visual effects, can no longer support itself because there's even the movie industry with the millions and millions of dollars that they got coming in, these people are suffering. One of my favorite commercials that's playing now, you've probably seen it in front of movies, and it played during the Oscars last night. I am absolutely in love with this commercial. It's the Diet Coke commercial. Have you guys seen that Diet Coke commercial? It's been out for a while, a few months. But it's a really beautiful commercial, and I think in such a short period of time, it really covers everything that I'm trying to say about this, that, we should celebrate every single person that is responsible for making a film. And I've made movies myself, so I know what that is to, how much work people put into it. And they're not the ones that don't get their names front and center. They're not the ones that are talked about that much when movies are talked about. They always talk about the director, they talk about the actors, but how many times do you walk out of a movie and say, the cinematography was gorgeous by this, what else did the cinematographer do? Do you hear that discussion at your local multiplex? I don't. I'd like to. I get into those discussions with people that, are like-minded like that. And like I said, I'm not criticizing people. I understand that everybody has their areas of interest and their passions, and, they're not always going to, get into movies like a lot of us do. But that's what the Oscars are for, and that to me, it's not, I've always said it's not about the competition, it's really the celebration of movies. And so let these artists get up there and talk. Just let them have that. I mean, talk about a moment. I mean, if you're in the film industry, the Oscar is the pinnacle of achievement. It's basically your fellow artists saying that your work was the best of what we did all year. So let them get up there and speak. Okay, I could go on forever about that, but I'll run out of time on the show. But yes, so and using Jaws, I mean, did they get Spielberg's permission? I can't imagine that they got Spielberg's permission to use that, or maybe they don't need it. But I mean, taking something that is such a classic film score and now to associate it with an ugly practice of cutting people off, and it just kept occurring too. Every time I heard that, I just started to cringe. So just a moronic choice to use the Jaws music to play them off.
What?
There you go.
Come on! I could have done that.
Yeah, but you didn't, did you?
I even brought poison with me.
You would have dropped that in the ocean with those city hands.
This is ridiculous.
Well, what did you think I was gonna do? Tear up my boat with a couple of people I just met and risk my life over some monster beast? Forget that. I want to get paid. Mr. Hooper, let's tie this shark up and go home.
I'm so done with this.
Please overlay, I killed the shark with poison. Hey, what you gonna say about that in my Rolls Royce?
So you're done with sharks for good?
Yep.
But what if there's another giant shark that attacks people?
I said, I'm done with this.
But what if it attacks SeaWorld?
Ugh, no.
What about killer piranhas?
Maybe.